Secretary of the Interior, Ken Salazar, made the announcement the Woodlawn Cemetery is now a National Historic Landmark. This, of course, is the highest honor a property can receive. The cemetery is the final resting place to some of the country's biggest names. People like Fiorello Laguardia, I should say, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, Madam C.J. Walker, and much, much more. Director of Historical Services, Susan Olsen, now joins us on the set to talk about the latest edition of the list of national landmarks and the upcoming 150-year anniversary of the cemetery. And Susan, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you here. We should say congratulations.
Thank you very much.
First of all, the historic designation. First of all, what does this actually mean for the cemetery?
National Park Service has two programs. One is the National Register of Historic Places, which most people are familiar with. If a building's 50 years old, it has significance, it can be on the National Register. Then the higher program is the Landmark Program. There are only about 2,500 landmarks, and those are buildings of national significance or historic properties that should be looked at nationally as being the best of the best. And that's what we decided to go for. So with that, the process is long and tedious. It took us 3 years. You have to fill out a rather complicated nomination form. You nominate yourself is what you do.
Right.
And you list all the significant things about your property. With Woodlawn, we had 250 contributing structures because so many famous architects and artists built our memorials, but then it was also the significant people. Then from there it goes to the Park Service, the staff reviews it, committee reviews it, board reviews it, Secretary of the Interior reviews it, and 3 years later you become a landmark.
Wow. And so you've gone through this process.
Correct.
What's the feeling like amongst those at the cemetery just knowing that you're able to receive this designation?
Well, it sort of makes something we already knew official. Woodlawn is a very important cultural resource. It's a very significant site in America, and it just happens to be located in the Bronx. And we already knew that, but just like with anything, you need that seal of approval. You need it to be recognized. What it does for us is it does two things. Protects the cemetery. If any federal money is being used that might negatively impact us, the project stops until they determine if the landmark will be protected. The other thing it does, it makes us eligible for grant money. There are a lot of historic preservation grants that if you're not a landmark, you're not even eligible. So it puts us a cut above, hopefully for restoration dollars, for programming dollars, for those kind of things. So there's several different reasons to become a landmark.
And you kind of led into my next question, because somebody outside might say, crazy question, you're a cemetery. What more restoration actually needs to occur? What are some of the things that the cemetery really would like to see happen within its own parameters?
What you have to understand is we have 1,316 mausoleums. Many families take care of their properties. Many families are gone. They've left New York State or they've died out. How are we going to care for these works of art? You've got some of the architects. John Russell Pope, the guy who did the Jefferson Memorial, the National Archives, designed 3 of our mausoleums. Where else can you see McKim, Mead, and White, the folks who give us wonderful, extraordinary structures like the Metropolitan Club? They did 12 things at Woodlawn. There is no better place in New York City that if you want to see all the great architects within a mile, you can see them all with our buildings and memorials. We have one of the largest collections of Tiffany windows. Our bronze sculpture is unrivaled. We get to see those things. They're, it's a great place to take a walk, but we've got to protect them. We have to preserve them.
So when you talk about the Woodlawn Cemetery, obviously we know here in the borough of the Bronx, it has definitely been a historical place. We've been talking about this for years and for many years here in the borough of the Bronx. What do you think the nation is going to be able to experience now knowing that this has this historic registry?
I think what they know is they can, when they come to New York City, they can hop on the 4 train, get to the last stop, and see something amazing while they wait to go back to the Yankees game. It gives them something else to do. Also, it's free. You can wander around. Everything is free. Beautiful trees, beautiful artwork. Spend a day.
Talk about the 150th year anniversary, because obviously a major milestone.
Woodlawn will be 150 years old in 2013, and we're planning a series of celebrations, exhibits, books, all sorts of different programming things so that people can celebrate their personal legacy. We encourage folks to reconnect with us. There's a whole lot of space out at Woodlawn. If your family hasn't used it, come and claim it. Also, give us your family history. Woodlawn has 300,000 people buried there from the richest of the rich to the poorest of the poor, and everybody's story deserves to be told. We want people to submit their family stories so that we'll have this big online database where you can look people up and celebrate your past and their accomplishments in life.
So 300,000
Yes.
are actually in Woodlawn.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing.
It's a lot of folks. It's a lot of folks, but we're also still active. We bury 1,000 people a year. We cremate 2,000. So we serve about 3,000 families a year. And that's, you know, the image is Woodlawn is old and historic and not active. We are still incredibly active on a daily basis.
What would you like to see happen in the near future?
What I would like to see happen is that people aren't afraid of cemeteries, that they realize that they're beautiful places. They were designed for you to achieve peace, for you to contemplate your life, the lives that went before you, and for you to celebrate your family's past. You need to go. Don't be afraid to go to the cemetery. Enjoy it, but also take that personal moment to think about who went before you and how you need to honor them.
Take a look real quick. We're seeing this stained glass window here. Tell us about
This is one of our wonderful Tiffany windows. It's in the Harbeck Mausoleum. Many of our families commissioned some of New York's greatest artists to do windows, to do bronze doors, to do the design of the memorial. You were in the city where there was so much talent. Even today, people are doing custom monumentation because we've got folks who can carve those things, who can show these images. So having a memorial that tells your story has been an important thing, and Woodlawn's always celebrated that. This is the Leeds Mausoleum, which was designed by John Russell Pope, who designed the Jefferson Memorial. It was built in 1910.
So that's the Leeds. That's the Leeds.
Yes.
And so now people who come through, what are we seeing here before we go?
Oh, this is the Harkness Mausoleum. James Gamble Rogers, who designed the tower at Yale, designed the library at Columbia University.
Right.
Again, this family loved his work. It's, would you design our final resting place too? And so oftentimes people would work with the same architect, same sculptor they knew throughout their life.
And I was seeing, we were seeing it right there. And so there's a lot of history that's actually out here. And so I think you really hit on it, because I think a lot of people, sometimes people are just scared of the cemetery, have the stereotype of the cemetery. But really, when you look there, it's quite peaceful. And in your case, very quite historical.
Well, most people think of cemeteries as where the worst moment of their life took place. And what they need to do is go back and realize that the person needs to be honored and that they need a moment of peace. And in today's world, when everybody's twittering and emailing and this is buzzing, etc., to be in a place that's quiet, where you can hear birds tweeting and look at trees, is really quite something we all deserve.
We're seeing LaGuardia here.
There's LaGuardia's grave. We have 7 mayors, and we've got 4 Bronx Borough presidents buried at Woodlawn.
Wow. Okay, well, that's a lot of history right there.
Well, what's interesting is his grave doesn't say mayor on it.
No.
It says statesman and humanitarian. So he didn't want to be remembered as mayor. W.C. Handy, the father of the blues, and on his grave is not only his trumpet, but the second bars of the St. Louis Blues.
Wow. And this is just an overall shot, huh?
Woodlawn is 400 acres. It's about half the size of Central Park, with 100,000 monuments and over 300,000 people.
Half the size of Central Park.
Yes.
Whew, that's pretty big.
26 miles of road.
Yes, yes, yes. And here we're saying,
this is one of our beautiful bronze doors. Robert Aiken is the sculptor. Again, you can tell so many stories of grief and loss, beautiful artwork, and just a family celebration of the lives of who went before them.
So when you look at the different things that are out there, and we're seeing another piece, I'm going to let you tell about this first before I ask the question.
Oh, I brought this because it's so hot out. It's our snowman. This man was lost in an Arctic exploration, and his wife decided to show him going home. But I figured since it's going to be 90-some-odd degrees today, everyone could get a little bit of a cool breeze by looking at DeLong.
Cool, we need to enjoy the hot weather while we've got it, I tell you. But of all the pieces and all the things that are there at the cemetery, what would you consider to be the one that really stands out the most to you?
The unmarked graves. The people who've been forgotten. James Reese Europe's wife is in an unmarked grave. The woman who wrote Shine on Harvest Moon's in an unmarked grave. There are people out there that we've forgotten, and it's our job to remember them by either writing a story on them or finding somebody to get their marker. Everyone deserves to be memorialized. No one should be forgotten.
So when you have these forgotten people, I mean, I'm quite familiar. I remember taking my son to Washington, D.C., watch the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and knowing that, and even how people will still, to this very present day, trying to find out who that person actually is. What can people do in that, in regards of remembering those people who've been forgotten?
That's the wonders of online. We'll be mixing this up online. You can physically be out there. That way you can look at things back and forth. It's all about our history, not forgetting, and using whatever tool, whether it's a beautiful gravestone to remember somebody or some sort of piece of information we can gather from the internet, to not forget people.
Somebody's out there watching, saying, are tours available?
Yes, our Friends of Woodlawn organization gives tours in the spring and the fall, or if you've got a group that just wants to come out and tour, please do. We have lots of meetup groups that come out, lots of special organizations, whether it's bird watchers, mushroom collectors, people who collect leaves in the fall. Just give us a call. Come on out.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Susan, for coming.
Thank you for having us.
And best wishes and congratulations on the designation. And I know we'll be looking forward to seeing and hearing more as 150 years.
Our party's October 16th, and we hope all the Bronx comes out.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
Susan.
you.